Carl, and it's Wednesday at noon, like we do for the last, 10 weeks. This is week 11. Um, Really excited about what I'm going to talk about today. It's actually something that I'm very passionate about, and that is kind of asking for what you deserve when it comes to your salary. And one of the things that's really, really important, and why I find is really important, is that quite honestly and quite frankly, that people need to, or a lot of times people just don't ask for what they're worth when it comes to salary negotiations. Now, it can be really exhilarating to, you go through the process and like I've mentioned before on this forum, that this whole job search thing that we're doing is all based upon repeated failure. You fail, you fail, you fail until you don't, and then your job search is over. And it's contrary to a lot of things that we do in life. Now, a lot of times you get that exhilarating feeling, finally get that offer. And when you get the offer, you're just not so enthused. Um, you feel like they may be undervaluing what would be your contribution, or undervaluing your actual value and what you bring to the table. And I can tell you, working in human resources, it's not uncommon for offers to come in at a point and then there's a range. With that said, there's a lot of things that go into the offers that people get. They have to look at internal equity, they have to look at what the market is doing. And then in some cases, some companies, honestly, the way they go about figuring out what they want to pay you is more like this, oh, I think we're going to pay you this. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's what someone's opinion is, right or wrongly. That's kind of the way it goes. You know, I guess the best way to put it is this. When you get the offer, this is actually a time where you have an opportunity to kind of set the stage and actually ask for what you truly want and truly need. Now, I will tell you, there are times where they come out and they give you an offer and it's fantastic and you're saying, "Hey, I really don't want to negotiate. I'm cool with this. It's fine. This is really a great offer." There are some companies out there, when they have a lot of companies have pay philosophies. Their pay philosophy may be that they pay in the top quartile. So they already pay well above the market average. And you're like, "Hey, yeah, I'm doing great. This is fantastic." Certain industries are like that. But at times, what you want to do is you want to really analyze and you want to see what you can do on how to maximize your earning potential. And the reason for that is this: everything is based upon your base salary. Your bonus is based upon your base salary. Your future um, pay increases are based upon that salary that you get. And I will tell you, when it comes to increasing your salary after you walk in the door, it's not often where companies will go outside of certain parameters, certain percentages that they will give you on an annual basis to, as a raise. Even when it comes to promotion time, they may actually go and they may say, "Okay, this person's getting promoted. This person should get X amount of salary for this new job." They may feel that, oh, there's an opportunity for training. There's an opportunity for them to actually give you a lower salary for that position. Now, a lot of the issues that come up and a lot of the issues that I've seen is individuals having fear about having those discussions about salaries. And I can understand why. especially if you're somebody who has been out of work for an extended period of time. There's a burden that's been lifted off your shoulder. There is this exhilaration of, I finally have broken the code. I finally have an offer in my hand. I don't want to blow it. I get it. I do. But like I mentioned at the beginning of my little discussion here, the truth of the matter is there's always some little wiggle room, a range when they put offers together, typically. And one of the things that's really important for you to do as someone who has just gotten an offer and kind of putting themselves out there is to work on overcoming some of those inherent fears that you have and the biases that you bring to the table. And I get it. I am the son of an immigrant. And I remember when I started out, the things my parents told me, especially if it was with a good company. Hey, it's a good company, work hard, they'll see what you're doing. It's something's better than nothing. And if you've heard that before, and this is something that you've heard from your family and you've heard from your friends and stuff like that, I get it. I've been there myself, especially earlier on in my career. But knowing your value, knowing your worth, and coming from a place of strength is really, really important, especially when it comes to setting your stage for the future. Remember, bonuses, future compensation. Now, one of the biggest things that I think I've kind of broken it down in this recent blog post, and if you want, you can go check out my blog post on my website. It's www.carlmulbauer.com. It's you can read the whole text there, and it'll probably be easier than me running through it and reading it verbatim on this forum. But I think the one thing is the fear of rejection. So I've broken it down into 6 things, and number 1 would be that fear of rejection. What if I ask and they say no? Well, that's a possibility. But the truth is, if you don't ask, you can get rejected, and you're in no worse of a place than you were before. And quite honestly, they may have given you their best offer right off the bat. They may not be able to afford more. They may not be able to do what you'd like them to do, or they may not be able to meet the market at that point. It's like I mentioned a little bit earlier, pay philosophy. They may not be able to pay top quartile or midpoint. And in certain industries, there's just not that ability to go there. Especially if the company is smaller or they're just starting out, there may be different levers and different things that they can pull. So asking for more is not necessarily a bad thing. The worst thing that they can do is say no. They may come back with a counter offer and say, I can't do X, but I can do Y. But this is all about having a discussion, an open and honest discussion about what your needs and what they are. And like I said, there may be different levers that they can pull. It can be something around, you know, stock. It could be something about benefits. There's different things that they can pull. And benefits tends to be a little bit tricky because it does have to be kind of standardized and stuff. But it may be something, other areas that you can start to discuss. Extra time off is really a good one. And that in of itself has an intrinsic value. Okay. Now, again, the important thing is to start to normalize the negotiation and come from a place that, you understand that, hey, this is okay to ask. Now, number 2 is a lot of times people lack confidence. Okay. And confidence plays really a pivotal role in this when it comes to salary negotiations. And a lot of times when it comes to confidence, the reason people don't have confidence is they don't do certain things that they need to do ahead of time. They just kind of roll up and they kind of get the offer and they just don't come with data. They don't come with facts, figures, stuff like that. So, the best way that you can build confidence in yourself and build confidence in you being successful in what you're asking for is actually doing a bunch of little things. Okay. First is do some preparation. Okay. Do some research about the company, look at what the industry is doing, look at what typical salary ranges. You can go to websites like Glassdoor or LinkedIn. In certain states, in the state I live in California, they do have to post what the salary range is. I know they have to do that in New York City as well, because they're trying to make some they're trying to make the playing field more equitable. The other thing is you need to know what kind of market rates that are out there and familiarize yourself kind of what, you know, if you're going into a specific industry, kind of what the salary standards are and understand what is kind of fair. The next thing is, and I've mentioned this with other things, when it comes to interviewing and when it comes to other things that you do in your job search, practice and role play. Get somebody you trust and actually role play what you're gonna say. Write it out. That's a great way to get it out from here, put it on paper. And what we know from a learning standpoint as adults, if we write something out, we have a better chance of remembering what that is. So write it out, role play it, get it out there. If you want to have somebody be contrarian, not just cave in a little bit, push you a little bit. So you get at least some practice on how to overcome objections. So that's the third thing. The other thing is this. The thing you need to remember is you need to convey to the person who's going to make the decision on whether or not they're going to raise your salary and if you're worth it, and we all know you're worth it, is to remind yourself and to remind them about what your unique skills are, what your accomplishments are, what your past performance has been, and how you can make a change in their organization. So many times we kind of forget this. And honestly, what you're trying to do is you're trying to make a compelling statement on why they should do this for you. So don't forget your accomplishments. So many times we say things like, hey, you should give me $10,000 more. And then the question is why? Well, because the market says this. Okay, well, that's fine. But I'm just going to offer you this because that's it. What is your choice? Take it or leave it, right? Excuse me. But if you come in from a place of strength, if you come in from a place where you can cite your accomplishments, cite the things, and put a business case together on why you should get paid more, it makes it a lot harder to say no. And like I said, there may be different levers they can pull. So don't look at it from straight compensation, dollars in my wallet kind of thing. Number 3, okay? You may have some limited awareness of kind of what your market value is. And what you really need to do is you need to up your awareness on what your true market value is. And a lot of times, sometimes there's bias on, I believe my market value is X and it should be much higher. And in some cases, that is flipped. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have some awareness and understanding about what that market value is out there. Understanding what others in your field are earning. And again, If you don't understand that, you may unwittingly know or unwillingly know take an offer that is below what you should be taking. So remember this, knowledge is power. The more information you have, the more knowledge, the more ways you can overcome objections. Okay? Well, you're going to say, well, how do I get this knowledge? Okay? You're going to have to invest some time. And you're going to have to invest some time in a way that may feel maybe a little bit uncomfortable, but it's you're going to need to do all of these things or a combination of these things to get a complete picture of kind of what your market value truly is. And the first is using online resources. That's easy peasy. You know, you can go out there, you can look at PayScale, you can look at Glassdoor, salary.com, LinkedIn. Like I said, certain postings, especially in certain states and certain locales, you know, they have to post salary ranges on what they're paying for that position. And again, don't rely just solely on a job title. You're going to have to go and you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper on that because different job titles have different meanings in different industries. So you're going to have to make sure that when you're doing this research, you're doing it for an industry that is the industry you're going into or something that is closely related to it. The next thing is networking. Contacting some professionals in your industry to kind of gain insight. And it's kind of dipping into their well of knowledge. Now, it always works a little bit better if it's people you know and people that you can reach out to and are kind of like warm contacts from a networking standpoint because they're going to be more willing to give you the information that you need. And again, they may not want to offer up what they're making. Either they're embarrassed on what they're making or they just don't want to share that kind of personal information. And you may not feel too comfortable about it. So you can say, "Hey, I've got an offer. They've made me an offer in this range. Does that seem fair? Does that seem on the level?" And ask for what their opinion is, especially if they're working in your industry. Um, you know, again, good things to know. If they aren't from your industry, it's another data point that you have in understanding and saying, "Hey, from the area that I live in, this is this is where I kind of should be." The other thing is the third thing is industry contacts. If you've got people in the industry that you can reach out to and you can get some information on kind of what market rates are, that's just a bonus because again, when you go in there, you come armed and equipped with knowledge. And it's really hard to dispute facts. Even though sometimes we think, oh, the facts are clear, you're gonna have to pound at it again. Say, hey, this is what it is. The fourth thing that we have to overcome a lot of times is this is cultural and gender influences. Now, I am a white guy, white male. My wife is Latina, and it's kind of interesting if you kind of look at um, the studies when it comes to women and women of color on how much they earn. It would take her normally in a working environment when it comes to pay almost a year and a half to 2 years of working to make the same amount of money or same salary as, say, someone who is like me, a white male. And that inequality when it comes to salary is unfair. And the way people should be paid is they should be paid for the work that they do. Same job, same pay. It doesn't matter what gender or the way they look. Unfortunately, that's not the environment we're in. And a lot of times, what we need to do is we need to actually ask. We need to ask to level that playing field. Again, I mentioned earlier, I come from a immigrant family, and again, one of the things that again, from a bias standpoint, culturally, I heard from my father all the time, "Hey, it's a good job. What are you complaining about? You're making money. You can always figure it out later on." And the truth of the matter is, I understand where he came from. I understand where he grew up and how that was. And I mean, my family, you know, call it what it is, first or second generation off the farm kind of thing. I can understand where he was coming from. He sacrificed a lot to come here. There, there's a lot of things that kind of play into that. So culturally, I was brought up with this bias. Now, the first thing that you can do is you have to acknowledge and have some awareness that you may have some biases and some cultural influences that you have to overcome. Some of the voices that you hear from family members saying, "Hey, you should be so glad, you should be so happy they made you an offer. Take it. What are you complaining about?" Well, it's not that you're complaining, you're just asking for your worth and you're just asking for what you're entitled to. Okay. The other thing is you need to realize that you need to be an advocate for yourself. Okay. I got some really great advice early on in my career. And the truth is this, and this was the advice I'll share with you what the advice was given to me. If you don't toot your own horn, nobody's going to toot it for you. So you need to be able to advocate for yourself. Tell people why they should and why this is important. Okay. And the other thing is this, our goal overall when it comes to salaries is not only for ourselves and for our families and our families' own well-being, but also for the people who are coming behind you. And that's really, really important. Now, number 5 is something, honestly, I've felt it myself. It's a fear that's gonna loom large, and the truth of the matter is this: one of the biggest fears people have is a fear of losing the offer. Now, here's what I'm gonna share with you, and I kinda mentioned it a little bit earlier, is a lot of times corporations, businesses, they have a range on where they want to put people in. They have some sort of pay philosophy. And if they don't, and they're one of the ones where they put their finger up and they kind of feel out where it might be and stuff like that, you're going to come about this and when you're going to ask, you're going to do it in a polite, respectful way. So one of the things that you may have a fear of is if I ask, they're going to pull the offer from me. Now, part of it could be, hey, if I push too hard, if I do this, well, the truth of the matter is you're going to be no worse off if you don't ask than if you do. And the truth of the matter is it's probably something they're going to expect that you're going to come back and ask. And one thing I'll tell you is this: if they do pull the offer, they're actually showing you the company that you would be working for. And understanding that if you do it from a polite position where you are putting your facts out there and you're saying, this is why this is important, and this is what I can bring to the table, and all those things. Again, they may not be able to do what you need them to do, but at least and then you can make an informed decision. But the truth of the matter is, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna pull an offer because, again, they need you to do a job for them, and they have gone through this whole process to come to making you the offer. I sat with a client just yesterday and said, "Hey, keep in mind, you know, you need to go and start putting resumes out there because it's gonna take anywhere from 2 to 3 months before you start. So even if you start now and you see a job posting, from the time you see the posting to the time you actually get to sit in a seat, or by the time they actually hire somebody and that person sits in the seat, it's gonna be 2 to 3 months, especially for highly skilled positions. So they're not gonna wanna lose you either. But a lot of times we build up this fear, if I push or if I ask, they're gonna pull the offer, and then I'm gonna be left with nothing. And one of the things you need to ask yourself, and you need to feel comfortable with this, is, would it be the worst thing in the world for me to lose this offer if I'm going to be so undervalued for the work that I bring to the company? So some of the things you can do is, again, your value proposition, kind of what you bring to the table. It keeps on going back to the same things. The value you bring, the skills you can bring to the table, the ways that you can help them get to the next level that they're looking to get to. Those are all the things. And then the other thing is, you want to have open communication. You want to be transparent. Okay? And you want to build trust. You want to do those things. And you can say things like, "Hey, I'm really excited about the prospect of working here, but from a compensation standpoint, I was really hoping to be at X." And make sure your X number is higher than the number you would settle for, because they're going to probably, from where they've offered you to where you're asking, they're probably going to come in the middle, and you need to make sure that split the difference, you're cool with. All right. The next is this, number 6, and I can't stress this enough. It's the power of preparation. Okay? Again, you need to be able to prepare, you need to be confident, you need to do all those things during your discussion. Okay? Make sure you do your research, make sure you have your priorities and your non-negotiables clear. And again, sometimes it's better to walk away from something that goes against your non-negotiables. We all have values, we all have things that are important to us. So be careful when you start to go back on those non-negotiables, because once you start making your non-negotiables negotiable, you can never go back. Not until you go for a different position, you go for work at a different company. Then you get a chance to reset. Okay. The other thing is, you need to prepare for some common objections. They may they may have some very common objections in the sense of, "Hey, we've never paid someone this much." Okay, the market has changed. You may not have paid someone this much, but did they bring the skills that I bring to the table? Or was this something that, honestly, that was a skill that they learned on the job and they started at a lower level and you were just undercompensating them? And that's why they may have left, because they were undercompensated and you didn't bring them up. So those are some of the things you kind of need to make sure. You need to, kind of in conclusion here, you need to make sure when you go through this thing, you need to understand what the common obstacles are, understand some of the underlying fears that you may have. You need to boost your confidence. You need to go in there with some strength. And that's really, really important. So we've been talking for about a half hour now. I try to keep these, like I said, to about a half hour, 45 minutes. Last week we went over, we had a great discussion with Jean. I'm probably going to have her back. I'm going to see what other people we can get into the mix here as well. But I just wanted to go over some housekeeping stuff and some great and exciting things that are kind of coming up. So let's go and let's start off first and foremost. I'm getting ready to launch the hiring season and actually doing something a little bit different with it. So I've re-energized and redone some of the things with the hiring season essentials course, and I've added quite a bit of free things to it, things that are really valuable and really kind of what I felt were now really essential for people to have. The other thing that I'm doing is um, I'm actually having some VIP time, which I decided from after launching it the last time that I needed to extend a little bit longer. Um, so there are a lot of different things, a lot of added value from when I did this the last time. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a free webinar, totally free. And it's the 5 things you can do now to jumpstart your job search. I'm going to be live on September 14th, the 20th, and the 25th, and October 5th and 10th. Now we'll go over what the 5 things you should do to kind of jumpstart that job search to kind of get the ball rolling. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about kind of how the hiring season essentials could fit into helping you take it to the next level. Again, a lot of what I'm doing here is I want to be of service. The reason why I do these live streams, the reason why I have guests like Tina and Jean come on and talk about these things with you, a lot of it has to do with making sure I'm providing as much value. And like I told to someone earlier today, hey, I may not be the right fit for you now, but I might be later on. And again, I think for people who are struggling when it comes to kind of getting to that next step, when it comes to putting themselves out there to kind of jumpstart that job search, which honestly, we all know is kind of dreadful sometimes. If you could do 5 things to change and move the needle forward, wouldn't you want to do it? And especially if it's free. So I think that's one of the things that, again, it's totally free. Come at those times. Don't worry if the times and the dates are inconvenient. I will have it running as a replay up until the 11th. So again, if you can join live, it's great because you can ask questions and I'll be there to answer your questions live on those dates. And if not, you'll get the benefit of actually hearing some other people actually ask those questions or the questions that they've messaged in, and then we'll be able to go and I'll be able to answer them that way as well. So again, remember September 14th, 20th, 25th, and October 5th and 10th. And then there's going to be replays the whole in between that whole time as well. So um, what I will do now is if you want to sign up for the webinar, again, it's a free webinar. It's the 5 things you can do to jumpstart your job search. It is September 14th, 20th, and 25th, and October 5th and 10th. You can scan the QRC code right here on the screen, and then it'll take you directly um, to the link. Or you can go to carlm.us. That's Carl M, Carl with a K, m.us/webinar. So again, it's been great talking with you guys today. I'm really excited about doing the webinar next week and for the next couple weeks going forward. If you want to find out some more information or you have questions or anything like that, again, you can go and you can book a free informational meeting. If you want, you can scan the QRC code here and it'll take you right to my calendar where you can book that directly, or you can go to Carl with a K, m.us/booking. And then this way you can actually go and you can actually book a meeting with me and you can get your questions answered. Again, I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great week and I will see you next week.